Hey guys, welcome back to another voiceover. So this is second month in a row that I am doing an extra little portrait voiceover painting guide for you guys. So this is gonna be another male character. So it is gonna be of a Venti from Genji Impact. Last month I did Xiao. So kind of wanted to continue this trend a bit. But as you can see, I prepped a sketch already. I'm going for a slightly more masculine look, although I think I might feminize his face a little after just to match the in-game model a bit more. But yeah, let's get started because usually I don't normally stick to the sketch anyways. I just use as a rough guide. So gonna do this in the step-by-step type of style. So I already got the sketch. Now I should probably let's go ahead and name this group color, and I will be basically do what I normally do, which is to just isolating the element in different layers, which makes it a lot easier to paint. A lot more easy to edit while we paint. I mean, that's a better way of putting it. Just gonna name this. Let's go ahead and name this face. And hair. Trying to see if I can kind of play around with his hairstyle a little. It is slightly different here. And he has a braid on each side. I'll just call this bang, I always do. So on the side, the other side, you have one too. Hair. Add that in, and then have the beret hat. And in addition to the hat, he has some decoration as well, which is a tulip flower with some leaves. Hopefully it's tulip. I might be wrong, actually. Don't know too much about flowers. And got the leaves. So I went ahead and blocked it in. I went ahead and duplicated into step 2, and I also went ahead and grabbed a reference and put it right next to the portrait I'm going to be doing, just because I really like to have the reference there sometimes. I think it's one of the more efficient ways of just looking back and forth, making sure that we get a accurate depiction of the character, well, as much as we can anyways. Let me go ahead and start with the the body layer. I am roughly coloring in the colors for his outfit. So he's got a white blouse. I'm just going to be borrowing some of the colors from his clothing here. Hold on. And then the lapels, filling it out with the base color for his outfit for this step anyways. I ended up wanting to give him like a sleeveless shirt design. I might change it back to his original design depending on how it end up looking, because sometimes I have an idea, I try it out, I change it up later on depending on if it works or not. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, so gotta give it a shot, see how that looks. But either way, it's gonna end up looking a little different. I'm gonna go ahead and use the lasso tool to line out his bow silhouette. Fill that in. Grab the gold trim. Okay, and he has a pendant underneath, which I will be working on a little after. Let's go back to the body layer. Gonna select a brighter color. So I'm still unsure of the light source for him just yet. So as you can see, the shadow and lighting I am doing is kind of vague. It's not very evident yet, but I think I will be able to determine a light source after I work on the face. So get that filled up, go to the hair layer, just using the color provided from his reference, and get the other side of the beret. Go to the other hair layer and have a little bit of a gradient under as well. Hat. Grab that color that's already there on the reference. So at first I will be probably referencing the colors from here, but as I continue to paint, I will probably be changing that up, since I tend to paint with slightly more realism, so that will have to change the color slightly from the actual art from the game, since it is a bit more stylized and more anime style orientated. So that will probably have to change if I want to be a bit more realistic with my shading. But I think this is a good base. I have the rough color down and stuff. Alright, I apologize for that. I don't know why. I woke up this morning and I have mad allergies, so I have to pause recording and come back multiple times, so you might hear that quite often throughout this voiceover. Anyhow, so let's get back to the face. Okay, so I'm going to, so this is the base color. Just gonna pick a slightly lighter color and gonna go ahead and shade the face up. I'm going to lower the opacity of the line art so I have an idea of where I want to put the lighting for the face. So I'm gonna go for a bit of a what's it called, lighting coming from below type of deal. And so this is just the first layer. I'm going to be, you could say, experiment with the shading a bit. And let's go ahead and pick a darker color for the shadow of the face. I want to give him a pretty boy type look. Not really. Well, he looks more like a Shota here, but I wanted to make him look more, a little older, more pretty boy vibes, you know? I don't normally paint Shotas. I prefer my pretty boy, so he's gonna look a bit more like that. I'm going to go ahead, shade up the eyelid a bit. Zoom in here. Gonna go ahead and line his eyes, and I'll try to kind of keep a bit of the same eye shape, kind of. Although it probably won't look that similar in the end. Just lining his eyes out. So let's go ahead and pick a bluish, grayish tone for the inside of his eyes. I will then use a slightly darker color and add some slight shadow to the eyes. Take a bit of the yellow, put it underneath. And oh, that might be a bit much, but I would like to add in the shadow for his eyes, the whites of his eyes anyways. Okay, now that that's done, let's go ahead. I'm going to rough guide of where his eyes is gonna be. Fill it up with just kind of the same color pretty much for the eyeliner and stuff. I'm just gonna select that color from his design and use that as a base. I might ending up changing his eye color later, make it maybe a little duller, because in order to make it slightly more realistic, I probably will have to make the color not as colorful or saturated as the actual design. I'll try to still keep the same tone though. Back to the nose, let's go ahead and add a bit of shadow here. Select a slightly darker color for the nostril. Add a bit of shadow. Add some more nose definition. Let's go ahead and line his lips. So I'm using a slightly more pinky shade for that. And the inside of the mouth. And go ahead and I'm gonna line the teeth. And I'm going to go ahead, line underneath the lips. Use a slightly darker color. Line the face a bit. And this is where I'm gonna start to experiment with the jawline and stuff just to get to a face shape that I think would fit him better. Let's see if I can like tweak it a bit. Okay. Let me work on the body a bit. I'm gonna go ahead and start shading his lower torso. I mean, not torso. Lower head part. Well, he does look very youthful. I might switch that up a bit. Let's see. Copy this. Moving around his mouth a bit to fit. I'm gonna have to paint his nose connected to his mouth a bit more. Maybe this will have to be, bring this over a bit. And probably need to also take this copy, bring this down a bit more. Hold on. Bring it over. And I'm just going to copy that part of the eyelid, bring it down a bit. Take that whole eye, bring it in a bit more, merge down. Let's go ahead, use a slightly pinkier tone for the lips. And I'm just going to darken the liner for his eyes. And let's go ahead and add a bit of a pinkier tone. And just blend that in. Same for his nose, bring down the shadow. And basically try to blend that in. I'm gonna line his nose a bit more. Bring this in. It's kind of a trickier nose angle to do. And for the lips, give it a bit of separation in here. And after, pretty much just try to blend it in. And probably gonna keep on it, refine it a bit more and stuff. I'm going to extend the shadow over his face a bit. Add a bit more shadow on the side. Gonna brighten the side slightly. Darken his chin. I'm going to softly blend that in. And then as for the ear, probably need to switch it up a bit, but before that I'm gonna go in with slightly duller color in the ear area. Add a bit of highlight on the side. Let's go ahead and use a darker color to help me align the ear. Line the ear pattern. Gonna go in to that, clean up the shape. Oh, maybe I should actually make his eye a bit more open. Take a bit of this color. Let's go ahead and blend the lip color in with the skin. And I'm just gonna continue to shade his upper eyelid and kind of try to blend it in. I'm going to take a slightly darker color. I'm just going to line his eyes down below here. Before, after. I'm just going to actually, you know what, let's merge down. So now what I'm gonna do is probably play around with the face structure. Maybe bring down his chin a bit, stuff like that. Play around with it a bit. I think this face will probably need to be done in combination with the other areas that needs to be refined first. Sometimes it's very hard to kind of make sure the face match if the other areas are kind of not done properly. I mean, not refined as much, so it's probably a little harder to match it. I think that's my issue right now. I brought it down a bit. Brought down the face a bit. Let me go ahead and add a more defined eyelid line. Maybe actually change the direction of his eyebrows too. I wonder how he would look with thicker eyebrows. Usually thicker eyebrows appears more youthful, so let's give that a shot. It looks pretty youthful and stuff. Let's go back to the body layer. I'm going to start lining some of these areas, as well as adding some shadow to them. The shadow I pick is a kind of a purplish bluish gray tone for that. Let me go ahead and do a little shading of his It looks like a corset or something. Let's go ahead, line his blouse design so it's got ruffles around it, and then we get several line designs. Oh man, right now it looks really does not look too great. That's because we will have to stack on a bit more shadow and stuff. So for now I'm going to start by stacking on some shadow. So after I selected the areas I want to be darkened, go to brightness contrast, and this is the first layer of shadow. I'm blending it in next. Going back, I will be adding some highlight to certain areas at first. So first I would like to define, use the blouse to contour his chest a bit. I mean, more like pecs, but I might ease up on that because I have to see how it will look if I paint it there. If it's too abrupt or out of place, I will probably remove the definition, the pec contour or something like this. Might be a bit too abrupt, like maybe he doesn't have that much muscle, you know? I guess I could leave it like that. Let me go ahead and add a bit of drop down shadow from the face onto his neck. And then onto the what's it called, the cape lapel. So I'm just gonna add some shadows on this part. Oh, whoops. There we go. And then roughly on the hat as well, I will add a bit of shadow. Although most of the hat is blocked by something, I will just need to add a tiny bit of shadow over there, just kind of darkened it. Go back to the hair layer. Grab the highlight of from the reference, and I'm going to try to do my best to keep the hair still of a dark shape, but at the same time add a bit of lighting to it. So I'll just be highlighting this small portion for now. I'm probably gonna leave this side alone. So let's go ahead, select these little tiny highlights and just put them near the areas, pretty much similar areas from the reference. And from there on out, here on out, sorry, I'm going to paint this tuft of hair and try to merge it into the braid. Okay, it's slightly confusing. Every time I draw braids, I'm slightly worried about how it's gonna turn out, because I do admit it is quite of a challenge for me to do that braids, because I often get confused with which hair tuft is supposed to overlap which hair tuft. So but anyhow, let's continue with the hair. So I did make the hair slightly different from this, just because I think maybe it will make him look, I don't know, a little more stylish, I guess. or at least a haircut. I kind of like it when there's a hair opening like this. So I just wanted to try it out, see if it looks good. If it doesn't, then I will go back to this with no hair opening on that side. So everything I experiment, see if it works. If it doesn't, then no harm done, just go back. The only thing you will lose is time. And that's not even that bad because you'll end up with a bit more practice. But yeah, so quickly I did layered it on with basic shadow and highlight. Now back to this part. So again with the lines. Okay, here we go. Okay, and I'm gonna take this color, just gonna line the side with highlight. Alright, let's go ahead and work on the hat decor before moving on to the third step. So the reference here actually is quite helpful with that because it's got pretty good detail and guidelines of what it should look like, which I will be following closely. So I'm going to start off with the airbrush and just going to airbrush on some slight bit of shadow. Doesn't need to be too clean about it, as you can see. My job is, well, I'm doing a messy job about it, but then I can just sort of line it. So you can do this these steps kind of differently. So this time I am lining after I applied the super rough shading. Sometimes you can do it in reverse, as in line it and then rough shadow. So it really depends on what you are more comfortable with. Sometimes, you know, you can try it differently every time, so that you get a feel of what you like better and stuff like that. But after I do those steps, I can go ahead and refine it a bit better. And in addition to that, I go back in and really emphasize some of the details that I haven't seen the first time. So you can see there's a little overlapping of the petals, so I can go ahead and do that and stuff, and maybe even add some small silhouette and stuff like that. So yeah, I would probably make it a little bit brighter. Let's go ahead and add a bit of shadow, cast it from here onto the petals of the flowers. Add some shadow here, and then I'm going to line the leaves just like in the reference. Add some shadow. I can go ahead and also clean it up. Oh, hold on. Clean it up like this. There. And let me go ahead and add a bit of highlight to that side of the petal. So this is basically what I did for the shadow down here, except instead of darkening that area I selected, I brightened it instead. So that is a very fast way of just making very fast-paced highlight shadow. But yeah, I think with that we are ready to move on to step 3. Let me duplicate this, bring this down here, bring the reference down here, and then we're going to flip the canvas. Once I flip the canvas, I'm going to go ahead and try to see what I can fix, because usually when we flip it, it helps quite a bit in seeing if it's going in the right direction or not. So what I'm gonna do is select this whole part. I'm going to go into distort, bring it over here, tilt it a bit, I guess you could say. Probably a better description of it. I just want to make the face a little bit more even. I felt as if it was maybe a bit too slanted, so I just brought it back a bit with that. But yeah, after that, let's go ahead and start working on the face a bit more, I guess. So first thing I'm gonna do is add more shadow to the face where the hair is casting shadow on the face. So I selected those area, darken it in brightness contrast, and of course after you do that, it is not done because some of the areas might be a bit too sharp, so we would go back in and smooth that out, blend it in, what have you, to make sure it looks a bit more smoother and less abrupt. And I switch between the solid round brush and airbrush to blend. But for the face, in order to make it a smooth type of shading, I usually tend to prefer airbrush or brush with a lot of softness setting. I'm just giving him a bit of some eyeshadow. And line it a bit more. Let me just zoom in here. I'm gonna pick a slightly darker color, more of a red undertone, and go over some of these areas. Go back here, select a more dull yellow toned neutral color, and I'm just going to shade it. Let me see if I can kind of make the side a little flatter. Delete. Trying to sculpt his face a bit by reducing a bit of poofiness from the other side. So onto the lips. Go ahead and take a bit of the beige, put it on the teeth. And let's go ahead, select a bit of the pink, and blend it on the lips. Take a bit of a darker color. And add some shadow this area to contour the teeth. Back to the nose. Just lining the nostrils. Let's go here. Pick a slightly darker color. To highlight the edge of the nose, or to give the nose a bit more silhouette. Go on the other side, add some shadow and softly blend it in. That. And let's see here, let's put a bit of shadow underneath the lips. I'm just going to smooth out the eyebrows too. Let's take use a slightly darker but a bit more colorful shadow for the eyelid. Go underneath the eyes. I'm going to take a dark color, add some shadow to it. Bring this darker, redder color onto the lid. Okay, and I'm probably going to... oh, hold on. To use a slightly brighter but more with a bit more gray tone for the eye color. Select parts of the eyes. I'll add a bit of highlight. And can add a bit of eyelashes. Mostly have it draped downwards. And of course we have the bottom lashes. I'm going to take the lip color and add it to the tear duct as well. And I'm just going to line the waterline with the same color as well. And I'm just going to proceed to blend the eyelid color a bit more, or eyelid shadow a bit more. Take this color, bring it over a bit more. There's some shadow around the eyes. I'm going to accentuate the nostril a bit by adding a bit more shadow around it. Time to blend out the cheeks a bit. So this is before, after. It's just a bit more details I can do. Could probably do it in between, but I think this is an okay look. I'm going to bring a bit more highlight upwards. Bring a bit of it up on the eyebrows too. And let's go ahead and use a slightly more apricot, I guess you could say, apricot color, extended outward. Shadow underneath the eyelid. Bring it this way. Make sure the waterline is visible. There. Before, after. It's a little better. I'm gonna merge it down. Pick a slightly brighter color so I can carefully, subtly line the chin and also around the lips. Let's add a bit of shadow underneath. And then add a highlight here and blend this out. I have to make sure the nose is a bit more visible. I might have to blend this area out. Add a bit more highlight here. I guess that should do for now until I establish where the lighting is a bit more intensely. I'm gonna go ahead and add a bit of highlight on the tip of the nose. Add a bit of highlight. I mean warmer highlight tone. Add a bit of highlight to the tip again. A bit near the nostril. Okay, I'm pretty much blended out. Okay, this is gonna be the first path of the face. Definitely not complete, but what I'll do is duplicate, go into auto contrast and lower the opacity, as well as erase some of these areas. So we'll only have the more bright color on this side. So there's gonna be, I'm gonna be painting a bit of the highlight on this side as rim light. Let's go ahead and use a bit of a blue tone. I'm gonna add a bit of it here. And also take a bit of the warm tone, graze it around the ear on this side. blend the highlight in with the shadow. And softly transition that into the rest of the face. Add a tiny bit of shadow here. Okay, I think that should do. Go to the hair layer. So I refined the face. I have a better idea of where I want the lighting to come from. At first, I would like to add in the rim light. I'm going to be quite rough with it using airbrush and also solid round brush with the airbrush setting. So that's why it's looking a little soft. It's looking a little airbrush, not very sharp. The sharpness will be refined afterwards. Let's go to this layer with the hair, and we'll do the same here. Get a bit of rim light towards that side, body layer. So with the body layer, I think what I'll do, I'm going to be a bit more harsh with my shadow. So basically I selected that whole part, almost half of the body. I'm gonna darken, increase saturation at the same time, and then take this color and put it or add it in as rim light to the neck area like this after I have created the shadow. Same with the white part, the color shadow, and then we get the rim light. Same with here, so I'm going to add a bit of rim light to this side. Same with here. Add a bit of rim light as well. Again on the shoulder. I'm still not sure if I want to keep the sleeveless or not. Alright guys, so I did do a bit of work on the face, and I also flipped it back to the original direction, and worked on the neck a little just to blend it out a bit. I played around with the face structure using Control T. Hold on. Control T warp tool. I didn't really make too much of a change, but I did do a little bit of work, although I'm not sure if it's too noticeable or not. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know so that we can continue from here. Alright, let's go ahead onto the hair. I'm going to use this color. Put it towards the top portion of the hair. Let's go ahead and grab a very dark color. And I'm just gonna use it to counter the brightness of the highlight we just added towards the top portion of the hair. And I'm gonna be adding some separation of some of these hair patches, so it's not all just one big batch of hair. I would like to create some diversity in where they're placed and stuff, so you'll see that I am attempting to kind of add a bit more variation for the hair. Let me go ahead and do this. Unlock the hair layer. Let me put shadow here. Add some shadow. And just kind of refining the lighting for some of these hair areas. I want to have an overlapped hair like this. Delete that. So it's gonna be a little different from the original, but as you can see, he's got like hair overlapping on top of other hair strand. So I am trying to kind of do that. Let's see. This batch of hair in the middle of his face is especially, it's probably the biggest batch of hair in the middle of his face. So, and also I'm gonna bring it up a bit. I'm gonna take this right here, Control X to cut, Control Shift V to paste, move it over a bit. I'm just changing the position of the hair a bit so that it matches the character more, but personally it's also me experimenting to see what is the best position for his hairstyle that I'm going for. Delete. Going to take a portion of hair off. I think that should do. Let's have a look-see here. And as for this area, I'm just going to create some drop-down hair strands. And the rest will be going into the lovely braid on the side of the hair. I'm going to make some little hair flaring out on the side, on that side. Let's do another little flare of hair. And I'm gonna go into the hat layer. I'm going to be seeing what I can do with the shape of the hat. Oh, hold on. Go to the hat layer. Alright, I had to restart my Cintiq since it was not responding. Sometimes it does that. Let me move the hair over. Now for the hat. Moving the hat a bit. I'm going to go ahead, use a bit of a brighter color. I'm just going to add some small bit of shadow. And blend that in. Go back to the hair layer. Also need to refine the face as well. It is needs a bit more blending around this area. But it's onto the hair. Continue onto the hair. Lock it down. Let me go ahead, grab a bit of a yellow, slightly yellowish highlight. I'm gonna be using this as a bit of a light source. I'm just going to add it in mostly this area. Take this again, apply it towards the edge. Just looking back and forth. Let me go ahead and bring the hat down a bit. Go back to the hair layer, lock it. I'm going to go ahead and highlight the top with a brighter color and see how that looks. Needs a bit more shadow here. I'm going to put this in shadow. Highlight. I am just highlighting some of the hair batches on the top. Let's go ahead, let me use the multiply and darken that up. Maybe bring the hair back a bit. Bring it down. Actually, I'll take this. Bring it here. Go back to the hat layer. Let's add some shadow to it. I'm going to use the lasso tool to help me, so I'm going to darken it and make it slightly more bluing tone. After I do that, I go back in, blend it out. Trying to figure out the placement for the hat. I wasn't too happy with it. I'm going to line the hat with a gold trim. Gonna go with a basic shade, yellow shade, and then with a bit more shadow around it afterwards. Let's remove this hair. Let me go ahead and remove that. I'm gonna take this gold trim, paint it out on the hat itself. Go back to the hair layer. Gonna do the same. So add a few more hair strand, cascading over the ear. Take this, the rim light for the hair. I'm just going to be adding it throughout the design of his hair on this side. I'm gonna start by adding a bit of shadow and highlight for the braid so that the rim light will be able to show up better. Let's put back the flower, make it a little smaller. Add it like here. For the face, let me play around with it. I'm not super happy with it too much. Let me create a new layer. I'm going to go ahead, use a bit of this color. I'm going to gray out this area a bit. Like that. Gray it out. And then what I'm gonna do is select this whole area. Brightness, contrast, darken that up. Add a bit more contrast. Like that. I'm going to erase this side. Erase the other side. So, pretty much just trying to get shadow in the middle. This side, in the middle of here. Subtly grays out. Actually, no. Let me see. Okay, that's not too bad. Darken that up. New layer. Let's go ahead and use, let's see here, this color right here. Graze it on this side, and then on the other side we're gonna get, let's go ahead and add a bit of highlight and see how that looks. Add a bit of lighting on the lips, contouring the chin. And after I do that, oh hold on, after I do that, let's go ahead and kind of work on it a bit because I pretty much changed the lighting on the face. Go here, add a bit of warm tone. On the lips, I'm going to switch to a pinkier shade. Chin, highlight that area. Take a bit of this warm tone, graze it on the bottom. Let's use the airbrush and airbrush the nose softly. Let me go ahead and add a bit of shadow for the eyelid. On the lips too. I'm just gonna blend that in. So this is before, after. And I'm going to rotate it back. See how that looks. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot I need to work on. The face especially is not at all there yet. Not at all. So I'm gonna be a bit silent for now, but basically there's no real step. I can't really explain it step by step to you guys, because what I end up doing in most cases is after I do the steps that I showed you guys, what I do next is basically I have a specific type of face I have in mind, and basically I'm gonna try a bunch of lighting and such to achieve it. So you'll see that I'm kind of adding, removing highlights here and there, stuff like that, and also changing up the basically the face structure of the character little by little usually. And sometimes I would do it in between of before and after too. And bring back some of the old shading here on the face at least. Add a bit of highlight up on top. Maybe on here too, just a bit. Add a tiny bit of highlight here. I'm gonna add some highlight the bottom of the nose. Zoom in here. Add some highlight at the bottom. Darken the overall whites of the eyes. Let me move it. Move the lighting a bit. Okay, let me go to the body layer, constrain down a separate layer to that, and I'm just going to readjust the neck to the new shading that I'm trying to see if it will look better. Let's go ahead and do some basic shading here too. Let's add a bit of warm tone on the bottom. Add a bit of shadow underneath. I'm probably gonna have to merge down. Probably gonna have to take this and bring it overlap the neck just by a bit. Paint back the cape real quick. And go back to the face. Let's go here, bring the highlight all the way down. Go back to the body layer. Bring the highlight all the way around her. I mean, his, sorry, his neck. I got tricked I got tricked unconsciously. Like, the features are very feminine. That's why I was like confused for a sec. Even though I knew, but damn, I'm still getting confused unconsciously. Okay. So yeah, just bring the highlight all the way around the chin. So obviously this shading guide is not gonna apply to different types of lighting. It applies to this type of lighting in my style. And let's go ahead and add a tiny bit of blue here on top. And another. Let's go ahead and make this part a bit brighter. Same with here. I want it to be brighter. And then of course you have the little escort here. Gonna shade it. Line it and shade it. And pretty much blending that in. This is supposed to be overlapping. Hold on, let me overlap this. Use a bit of rim light on that side. There. I'm just going to bring this lower. Delete. There. I think that looks a little better. Probably need to make the hat a bit bigger again. As I look back and forth and as I refine it further and further, I can kind of rebalance certain aspect. And a lot of times the finished product doesn't look very much like the sketch or the rough face of the piece. But anyhow, let's go ahead and paint the arm. So initially I was planning to give him a bit of muscle mass, but now I think I will go a little easy on that. Let's just give him a pretty non-defined arm, like a slim arm with not that much muscle. Still want to make sure to give a bit of the muscle mass. Before that, I'm gonna go in with the pale color to paint the other side of the cape. Let's go ahead and add a slight bit of shadow. I'll just do that for now. I'm going to copy, paste. I'm gonna kind of play around with the position of the arm. Go ahead, darken that, use this color, and then as we go down here, let's go with more of this color. Okay, let's see. Let me go ahead and paint the cape out a bit more. So this will go all the way here. Add a bit of highlight. And I'm gonna go ahead and add a bit more shadow around this area. Add a bit of rim light. And back to the cape. Adding a bit of shadow around that area. Paint out the, what's it called? The wrinkles where it's most pulled together, which is near the bow area. Let me do one side over the shoulder, one side down like this. Go back to the face, or actually take the body layer and I'm going to make it a little bigger. Moving it, I'm kind of trying to see how it would look if the head was a bit smaller. I'm probably gonna play around with the posture as well. Alright guys, welcome back. So for the third step, I decided to go with the previous face, and then I wanted the new face, the one that you saw me working on, trying to kind of change the lighting a bit. It's gonna be on step 4, so that we can have a better progress comparison. So actually this is not too bad. But I did kind of changed it. I don't know if maybe I will go back here at some point, like just copy the face and then slap it on top of whatever I have, and then put it on 50% opacity. I think that's a good way to kind of have a compromise. If you like an older version and a new version, you kind of do like an in-between of both. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but I pretty much try everything that I could think of. If I'm not satisfied with how it looks, I just like keep tweaking until I'm happy with it. So here we have the new, I kind of worked on it a little bit after I ended the recording. Then I worked on it a little bit. As you can see, you might be able to see what I changed, but refined the face a bit. Also, I went ahead and adjusted the torso. As you can see from the previous to now, this version is slightly more tilted towards this side. And yeah, that's pretty much what I did for the most part. So without any further ado, let's continue. Going back onto the face layer, create a new layer. Since I'm not too sure if I'm gonna like what I do, I mean in terms of changes, I just for just in case, I just painted on a separate layer. That way I can easily go back. I'm currently trying to blend it out and figure out, okay, which direction I want to take the face. Although there is distinctive lighting, I am still kind of unsure, and oftentimes I'm very indecisive about face shading. So as you can see, I'm also kind of playing around with the mouth as well. I'm not too sure if I like it or not. Yeah, you'll see me do this a lot, and that's why I think the face is probably like, I spend probably almost half or more than the entire time I'm working on a piece. That's on the face alone, or actually focusing on that area, like the hair and the face together. Yeah. And the other areas, you know, I don't need it to be a particular way, so I just do my best to render it out. But the face, I'm pretty picky. And I mean, a lot of my faces might look pretty much the same, but for some reason, I guess, you know, same faces aren't always that easy for me to do. You probably think, oh, it's a very similar feature, it's probably easy to do. No, sadly, I wish it was that way, but it's not. I just keep fussing over it. And I guess in some way, repeated attempts at painting on it, or just keep working on it, result in the same face. Or something like that. But that's the type of face I like, so I can't really escape that destiny. At least, I guess I could, but I choose not to. I guess I voluntarily let myself be controlled by the similar facial structure. But I do try to sometimes give tiny bits of variation here and there with the characters. I guess that's pretty much what I wanted to say about that. But as you can see, I'm just trying to see, playing around with the lips. Maybe I do it in between like I had suggested. Maybe like 70%, 60%. Yeah, just playing around with it. Onto the eyeball. So I'm gonna pick a bluish tone for the whites of the eyes, then going in with a much brighter color for the whites of the eye. Then I'm gonna go in with a bit of yellow taking the eye color, the shadow around the eye color, just gonna use that to blend in the eyeball itself. For the eyeball, oftentimes I do a bunch of stuff like layering on shadow highlight in the eyeball itself just to create a more glossy look, and sometimes you don't even notice it because you'll probably only notice it when you zoom in. But those tiny details help a little bit. As you can see, scribbles like this probably won't really show up when you zoom out of the piece, but when you zoom in, you can see it. However, when you zoom out, you could probably see like a bit of shadow around here. So kind of like that. I think maybe it's a bit too bright. I'm gonna subtly erase a bit of it. And let's go ahead, use a bit of a highlight, contour the eye a bit. And just going to blend out the under of the eyebrows. Just blend that out. I'm going to remove the hair. It's kind of funny looking at it without the hair. But oftentimes I feel like hair gets in the way, so I turn that off. I'm gonna take a bit of the rosy color from the lips, use it as the tear duct color for the eyes. Let's go ahead and blend this out. Add a bit of highlight in that direction. Layer on shadow in the center. Bring back the hair. I'm going to line a bit of the eyelid back. And also, I wonder how it would look if the eyebrows were a little lower. So all these are some of the areas I play around with on the face for the character until I get to a point where I'm happy with how it looks. So that's why there's no real set formula for faces. I mean, this is how I paint it, but the way I edit it afterwards might vary from other artists, and therefore you can use this technique, but it's up to you to figure out like what proportion you like on the face. Let's add some eyelashes. Take this whole eye, make it a little smaller, and bring it here. So now I am editing the eyes and kind of seeing what goes, what doesn't, well, or what I like better. Copy the whole nose, plop it down. Just going to warp this part, see what I can get out of it. Okay, that's kind of like it a little bit over. Let's go for a reddish tone. Just gonna graze it near the eyelid. Maybe I'll make him have more open eyes. Because right now I'm giving him that I'm tired look or sultry look. Remove the hair. Paint back some of these areas. Let's see. I wonder. I'm gonna copy this eye. And I'm gonna warp it up a bit. Like that. Put back the hair. Maybe lower it, maybe move it up a bit. Take this and move that up. Before, after. Let me do a in between. Before, after. Take the nose, play around with it a bit more. Let's add the other side of the nostril. Oh, actually, nah. Let's just have it like this. Probably gonna make the nose a little bigger, like that. And also, let me see, lower the lips a bit. Bring up the bottom lip. And then I'm going to go select inside the mouth. Add a bit of shadow. Inside the lips. Let's just blend the lips out a bit. So before, after. And let's see how it would look if I had... Nope. The eyebrows needs to be lower for sure. Let's bring this up a bit. No, wait. Nope. I guess like that for now. Let's go ahead and blend this out a bit on the side. Take this color. Brush it on the other side of the face. I'm gonna use a dark color. I'm going to sculpt out a bit of teeth placement. I want to see how this looks. Just opening up the lips a bit. Take this highlight, put it under this side. Add a bit of shadow here. Add a bit of highlight here, right at the tip, but it needs to be subtle. Add a bit more shadow around the lips. Okay, so this is what we have. That's actually not too bad. Oh, hold on. Give a little grin, pull the shadow up a bit. Let's take take this whole part, copy, paste, make it a little bigger. And just going to erase around it. So this is the new change. Let me use this. Bring down his lash bit. Oh no, hold on, nope. Guess we'll just bring down the lash. And zoom in. I'm going to use the lasso tool here. I'm going to use a dark color and line the eyelid. This way, using the lasso tool, it's a little cleaner, I find. But you can do this manually with just a darker brush. I mean, darker color, and just like brush stroke it on. You can also use the lasso tool to help you. His eyes need to be really cute and pretty. Let me give a bit of hair texture to his eyebrows. Okay, now I would like to see if I can make the nose a little bit pointed downward. Oh. Let's add a bit of that rosy color from the lips on his nose. Add a highlight. Highlight up his nose. Oh, his nose. Take a bit of shadow. Contour the nose bridge. Bring it all the way over the cheek. Add a bit of highlight around the eyes. That's just areas I tend to highlight / add shadow. Okay, let's see how that looks. March down. Let me take this color. Take a bit of this, the warm tone. And just going to use it alongside the bottom of the face. Let me constrain it down. Okay, now I'm gonna try to see if I can contour the chin. properly. Use a bit of this color. Oh, hold on. Let me try to add a bit of blush to this side of the face. Over here, I'm gonna blend out the lips. And I'm just gonna blend the shadow in the highlight. Take a bit of this, add it under the chin, take a bit of the light. I'm just going to kind of blend out the chin a bit. So I switched the lighting a bit, just slightly. And also the position of the face. But what we could do is we can copy the old face, paste it on top of the new face, and lower the opacity. And of course I have to go ahead and kind of play around with where everything goes using the warp tool and just warping it to kind of like to the old face. And as you can see, it helps me decide whether, you know, if having an in-between of the old and new is working or not. Before, after. Let me go ahead and do that. Oh, remove that part. Before, after, before, after. So that's not bad. Okay. I'm going to copy, Control Shift C, Control Shift V. Now that I have that done, I can try to see how it would look like if I kind of moved around the face. So it's another thing that I usually try if I'm not happy with the face. I just move it around, you know, see how that looks. Zoom out from time to time, see how it looks zoomed out and stuff. Sometimes that gives you an indication whether you like it or not, and you can go from there. Yeah, zoom out a bit. Okay. Before, after. Let me take... Oh, sorry. Let me remove a portion of his jawline. Smooth it out. Same with here. Oh, wait. Okay, let's merge down. I'm gonna select the whole face. Liquify. Play around with the proportion of the face. Let me make this eye a little bigger. Bring it down. Maybe his... Oh, that's... Maybe I need to make his chin a little shorter. Let's go ahead and do that. See how that looks. Yeah, that looks more pretty boy-like. There. Okay, that was a bit of time on the face. So the face definitely tends to be a bit more time consuming, but after I do that, I just work on the rest of the area, like the hair, trying to go for a what's it called, give the hair a bit more hair texture. Now that we have somewhat of a light source, I'm gonna go ahead now, copy paste, brighten it up. Before I said that I wasn't gonna do that just yet. Now I'm gonna test it out, see how it looks, because I have the face kind of rendered out. So now it's time to see what I will do with the hair for it to match as much as possible with the face, that is. So one side down, let's go ahead and pick a slightly brighter color and just going to add some highlight to some of these hair strands, see how that looks. It's not bad. I think it could be better. I want to try something. So what I'll do is gonna take this, Control Shift C to copy the whole image itself, including all the layers, and warp it. And then we're going to do that again, paste again, warp that as well. Okay, oh, hold on. Okay. And let's warp it to a position where it's good, or it's looking better like this. And then what I'll do is take this, copy, paste on there, warp, paste again, and warp that again. This is kind of a good, fast way of making multiple, or just creating hair texture in general. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, add a bit of drop shadow from this batch of hair. There. And select behind, add a bit of shadow. Take this color, put it there, extend the shadow up. So now it looks a little more structured in terms of the hairstyle. It's a bit more solid. Now going back to this part, so this is that part right there. I'm gonna focus on try to see if I can blend it out with a shadow shade, trying to make this part particularly shiny and eye-catching. I'm gonna do the same thing I did with the other batches of hair. Copy, paste. Paste. Let's move this one. Make it thin. Move this one like that. Then I'm going to lock it. Readjust the lighting. The highlight, that is. Paste another one. Make it a little thinner. Lock it. And redo the highlight again. Take another brighter color. Like that. And I can even lower the opacity slightly to create some variation in the hair. Delete. I'm going to slightly erase the tip. Oh, hold on. Merge everything down, slightly erase the tip so the eye... Oh, that's too much. So the eye will be... You will be able to see the eye underneath it slightly. It's definitely not like realistic, but I'm doing a hybrid here. Hybrid of the anime style hair and a more realistic rendering. Go ahead and make the hairline. Select the outer edge, shadow, highlight here. And then another one, shadow, and then highlight again. I can create a bit of hair layering that way. Some more shadow and a bit of highlight. Let's look here. So this part, let's reduce that. Same for here. Reduce that. Then we can kind of make this area a bit cleaner. Let me tuck this a bit this way, out of the way of the eye. Let's go ahead and paint a few hair strands. Now I flip the image. Oh. So that I can continue rendering, but with kind of a refreshed canvas point of view. I'm going to actually extend this eyebrow. It looked a little too short, flipped. I'm going to extend this highlight upward. Also chop this side. I'm going to also warp the ears a bit. Delete. Take the chin, warp it a little bit downward. Also, gonna look kind of reduce the bottom lip here a bit. Let's see. I'm gonna add a bit of shadow there. I know I'm supposed to be working on the hair, but I want to see what I can do about the face. Let's make the eyes look up. I'm going to take this part and warp it upwards a bit more, which just makes his eyes a bit more open. I'm gonna have to re-render the pupils. Merge down. Maybe I'll lower it just a tiny bit. Okay, let's merge down. It's not much of a change, but just a tiny change. Okay, I'm gonna keep this layer separate. I'm not gonna merge it down, and back to the hair. Zoom in. Time to clean it up a bit. I'm gonna lock it. Let's actually use this color and add it to the very edge of the hair. Add a bit of that to here too. I'm going to create another layer and just going to add some hair going this way. Now back to the braid. Oh boy. Okay. Let's take a brighter color of the blue. And we're gonna apply it to the side with the highlight. I guess in this case it's that way. So we're gonna have the highlight on that side. Oh man, this braid is gonna be really uneven with the way I'm painting it. Add a bit more highlight. Okay, this is not too bad. Extend the highlight upwards. I think for the eyes, I'm gonna delete that part, bring down the pupils a bit. I want him to look at the audience. I think that's more in line with looking at the audience. Okay, back to the hair. So continue to shade the braid. Oh man, it is definitely very messy, very messy. Let me merge down. Take that. I'm going to just kind of squish it up a bit. Copy, paste, bring it down. There. Merge down. Okay, I think that's a good base. Still looks pretty messy. Hold on. Let's go ahead and do it this way. Okay. And last but not least, the rest of the little braid. Lock it down. I'm actually going to go ahead and use the multiply and darken up here a bit as it transitions. Okay, that's a bad transition. I think this is better. Transition here. Let's go ahead and use overlay and emphasize the glow of the blue a bit more. So we have this side done. In order to work efficiently, what I'm going to do is copy this side onto the opposite side as well. Let's go ahead and take this entire thing, go to the bang layer and plop it there. Of course we could use the warp tool to deform it slightly so it doesn't look like copy and paste as much, although it still do a little bit, but I usually also paint over it afterwards. Let me go ahead and fill the spot in. Lock it. I'm gonna go here and select that area, which I will lighten. And back to the hair layer. Add a bit of highlight to this strand. Take this color. Add a bit of shine to this part of the hair. Same with up here. I'm gonna create a new layer. Use the little flower petal color and very subtly add some shine to the hair. Oh, well, maybe not too subtle. Let's go ahead and line this side with a brighter color, with using the airbrush for this so it's nice and soft. Okay, that's not bad. Actually, no. I'm just trying to test out how would it look if I try a bunch of different ways to blend this out. Darken this. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, merge down, select a couple of areas, here, copy paste, and we're going to brighten. There. Now it feels a bit more, have a bit more volume. Merge down. I'm gonna clean up the braid a bit. I think that's a pretty good progress for the hair. Maybe I'll do a little in between for the face. Alright guys, so I did end up flipping the image again because this time we'll be working a bit on the clothing. And again, I retouched the face slightly, not too much. I end up carving out a bit more dip here in the cheek area, kind of like, kind of like here. And see how much I could do, how much I could get away with that without it looking too much, pretty much. So anyhow, let's go ahead and continue work on the clothes, and I'm going to have a nice zoomed in look here. I'm going to prep that area, just bring the reference a bit closer so I can look at it while I work on this. Create a new layer for this. I'm going to first use the lasso tool. Wait, that's weird. Oh, whoops, I'm in the wrong layer. I mean, wrong group. Okay, it's right here. Let's merge this down, create a new layer. Let's go ahead and darken it up a bit. And then clean up the silhouette a bit. I'm going to line it. And then going back to the scarf. I'm just going to go in a bit cleaner this time. I did do a rough rendering of this, but it still needs much work. First, it needs to be cleaned up. Then I will be going select them. Control C, Control Shift C, Control Shift V. Reduce, darken that up, merge down. I'm gonna go let's try using a bit of this pinky shade here. Let's see how that looks. Used a bit of the pinky shade to neutralize the dark color. Go back here. Let's do this. Have a nice dip. Add a bit of blue. Add a bit of pinky shade. Add a bit of yellow. Add a bit of all around color. And inverse. Let's go ahead and paint out a bit of that. Some lines to imply the pull of the shirt or scarf, escot. I should really look for the, like, what is the term for this thing on his neck? Okay. Next, this part. So, straight up, add a seam here, which implies a bit of a volume or thickness in the fabric. Let's go ahead and line it again on this side too, and again up here. After that, select that area, I'm just going to use black and darken this area up for that shadow look. And I'll go back in here. Let's go ahead and add a bit of warm tone in the shadow part. Add a tiny bit of shadow, a bright shadow there onto this side. So I'm gonna line it up with what I'm planning to do, which is add highlight to that side. Add shadow to contour the fabric itself. Go back here. Go back here to fill back the empty space. Let's go ahead and do the same here. Add a bit of highlight to the corner here. And then go back in, fill back the green part of the cape, merge down, create another layer so we can continue to work on the cape. I'm going to layer on a bit more shadow for that part. Let me go ahead and start shading it. I'm just gonna follow along what that looks like. And one side it's going to be tucked behind the shoulder kind of deal. Add a bit of highlight to this area. Blend that in. And now for the shirt. So I had thought about adding sleeves, but making it like a mesh material or translucent material. So let's see how that will work later. But for now, I'm just gonna be working on his shirt. But first, get some of that ascot covering this part. And then let's do a little design with the clothing. Let me go ahead and add a bit of shadow underneath. Okay, I think I should probably finish the bow first before I do whatever's underneath, the shirt underneath. Let me clean up the bow shape, make it a lot darker. Let's go ahead and select those area, make it a little brighter. After that, oh, actually, let me bring the reference down for the bow. So, upon further inspection, I noticed that this part is actually I'm not sure if it's intentional or not, but this looks like a bit more blue and that looks like black color. So anyways, let's go ahead and start refining. So I might paint over the golden trim initially, and then I will add it back. So let's go ahead and let me actually also, while I'm at it, refine the shape of the bow. So let's go ahead and make it, actually let's add a bit of shadow underneath here. Let's make it a bit shiny like satin. So squeeze that highlight between two shadow, lock that down. Let's do that again one more time, and once more down here, just a tiny bit. Let me darken that part a bit more. Actually, before that, let me make this part a bit bigger. And now onto this part. Let's go ahead and add a fold here, shadow for fold. Blend out the rest. Clean that up. Probably needs to be a little bit more up like this. Go back, add a bit more shadow. On now this side, delete. I'm going to just clean this side up as well. Let's do this. Lock it in, lock in the layer, add the shiny bit. And this side I'm gonna make it darker. Let's go here, select a bit of that color. I'm going to be adding in highlights in the dark area, in the shadowed area. I'm gonna add a bit more highlight here. There, add a bit around this area. Zoom in. Let me go ahead and blend this out a bit more. Lasso it. Add the shadow. A bit of highlight. Add shadow again. I'm going to darken that part. And just going to color over the gold trim for now. And let's use the lasso tool to help me make a sharp shadow here. blend that in, use a bit of highlight at the same time, extend it to this area, use a bit of the shadow. Just gonna add shadow all along here, add a bit of shadow here. So now the bow is a bit more shaded. Could probably use a bit more rendering. Let me select this part, add highlight to there. Let's go ahead and shape it with highlight. Now this side, and then use a slightly brighter color, apply this highlight sparingly, basically to emphasize the previous highlight. I'm trying to think, how can I explain it? What kind of terms should I use? Let's continue with, actually, you know what, before that, copy this part. March down. Let me clean that up. Add a bit more shadow here. Let's go here and brighten it. After I brighten, render it out a bit more. Using a combination of solid round brush and airbrush. Onto this side. There's not a lot of bright color on this side, but still need to blend it in a bit more. Select that area, just gonna add some shadow. Gonna take this. Actually, nah. Let's just keep it like that. Gonna warp it slightly. Let's add a bit more. I switched up the lighting slightly for the bowl, but as you can see, it's still a little rough. I mainly just used the airbrush to quickly change up the lighting a bit. I think this looks a little bit better. Still not the best, but I think I have to call it at some point and not be over fussy about it. Let's do one more. Brighten and let's make the lighting a bit more blue. Like that. Clean it up a bit, merge down, and then let's go ahead and do the gold trim. Copy. Same here. Brighten a little. Go to the yellow area. Increase saturation. I think this is the best I can do for that setting. Go into color contrast. I think it's a bit too red tone. Let's lower that. Lower the opacity. Saturation, and then go in manually. Go in manually to paint. Add a bit of shadow here. Highlight. Let's layer on some shadow here. Add some more shadow here where the fold is happening. Here too. I think that looks wrapped enough. Let's go ahead, add some more shadow around here. Okay, let's merge down so the bow is I would say at a good level. I think it could definitely use more rendering, but let me just darken that up. But I think it's at a good point right now. Let's go back to the body layer. I'm gonna start lining the ruffles. Lining it as a guide. And after I line it, I will go ahead and start to blend it out. Let me add a couple of fabric ripples. Go here. Add a bit of shadow. Or here. Blend this part out. Add a bit more highlight here and alongside the ruffles too. Let's go ahead and add the highlight for that. It's kind of rough. I'm going to select underneath the ruffles and just darken it a bit. Then I'm going to line it. And just going to apply these line textures onto the blouse. Bring it up. Onto this side. use a bit of the highlight and the shadow. I'm gonna go use the smudge tool and blur some of these areas. Before after, it's definitely a lot cleaner. Okay, I'm curious how it would look if I made parts of it slightly translucent. So I'm gonna go here and start doing that. Add a bit of skin tone to this portion. Add a bit of shadow there. And have the skin tone extend till this area. So this area is gonna be start of opaque fabric. And until then, I will add a bit of skin tone. And I'm gonna go ahead, add a bit more shading to the armpit area. And extend that downward a bit. It's not really reading as transparent. Let me go ahead and line it at least. Let's go ahead, select under here and add a bit more skin tone to that area. Let me add a little bit of skin tone here. Oh, and the rest. Muscle here. And the rest of the arm here. Select a highlight. I'm just going to cover the other arm with the highlight mostly. Go here. I'm gonna darken this area where the cape is overlapping that area. That's it. Select that bright color. And then add a couple more pressure lines. Add a bit more highlight here. Let me add a bit of seam to the cape too. Alright, let's go with that. Bring it down. Add a bit of thickness to the fabric. And I'm gonna add a bit of shadow underneath inside the cape. Oh, I should probably move this over a bit. Okay, let's see here. Okay, now I'm going to go to this part, darken it. This is where the highlighted portion is. Bring some of the ruffles add it here. Fixing the shape bit. Let me also adjust the shape of the arm while I'm at it. Add a tiny bit of dip for just contouring the bicep a tiny bit. Not much muscle, but just a bit of definition would help. Darken that area a bit more. And then add the golden trim around the waist. Okay. And then here, just going to shade that. Clean up the look. Let's go ahead and add the white portion again. Pretty much making it so I don't have to do the complicated area. Well, not as to this extent. It's a little cheating, but it's still the character. Merge down, so there we have it. Alright guys, we're back. So, as you can see, I still wanted to make this area a bit translucent, so in order to do that, I actually went ahead and put the rest of the arm in shadow, darkened it, and then added the a bit of a more deep skin tone over here. So I think it looks a bit more translucent like that. Anyhow, let's go ahead and work on the hair decor now. I'm going to, first of all, let's go ahead and darken this area a bit. And also, color balance. Increase the amount of green. After that, I'm gonna blend it out. Let me go ahead and add the line a bit better. Zoom out. And then just in general, clean up the area here. Could use one more petal around this area. I'm gonna lock it down. Let's start adding a bit of blue to this area of the leaf. And let's add a bit of beige now on the inner part of the leaf using the airbrush. Let's go ahead and use a bit of the white color. Add a bit of highlight to the leaf. Like that, and that should do it. Could probably refine it a bit more. And the hair too could be refined a bit more, so I'll go in and blend out some of these rougher areas, as well as adding some more little silhouettes, little hair strands for silhouette's sake. and just blend it down using the color that's already there. And if the color isn't there, I would be borrowing it from the side as well. Add a bit more hair strand sticking out. Maybe some going all sorts of places. Could probably do the same on this side too, just adding some rogue strands here and there. So there we go. So this was a, I would say a good point to say that this is a basic portrait voiceover painting guide. It's not as detailed as some of my very old voiceover portrait guides. It just gives you guys a quick, I would think this is more of a tip guide where I give you guys tips instead of step by step. But yes, the most important, I guess, if you have to take one thing away from this tutorial or guide, is that you have to experiment sometimes quite a bit in order to obtain the result that you want. And also, reference is very important, especially if I'm painting a character. I really want to capture their likeness in my style. I use a reference. It makes things a lot easier. And as well as painting separate elements by layer in separate layers, bit by bit. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I think, for this voiceover. Anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed, learned something, and I'll see you guys in the next voiceover. Have a great day. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.